Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is Techno from the neighborhood Techno Wizard. This is a redux of the show. I realized at one point I was saying skills instead of attributes, so I just decided to have the old adage go, reshoot the whole bloody thing. That'll work. Alright, so here we go. By the way, in the background, that's me painting models I've got. Because I've got a stack just like everybody else that I need to finish or do. Alright, so this is going to be about character, the attributes of your character. And I'm going to go over what they kind of are, so this should be relatively short unless I go off on a tangent, which is entirely possible. If you've watched any of the shows before, you know, yeah, I do tend to go off on tangents. Sorry. So, that being said, here we go. In character creation, the first thing you roll up is attributes. Now, here's the thing. Because we all have the same point of reference, humans are the baseline. So your attribute roll, what the number of dice you roll, will be determined by your RCC, or your racial character class. Like if you're an elf, you get certain, elves tend, and that's kind of how they put it, tend to be more magically inclined, more mentally fit. And this one species tends to be not mentally endurance. This species has a bigger brain, they're much smarter, however, they can't lift crap. That's kind of how this works. So humans are the baseline. You have your 8 attributes. Hope I got that number right. IQ, ME, MA, PS, PP, PE, and speed. Speed! I love that one. I'm going to give it a definite. Alright, let's start with IQ. Now, how should I do this? Yeah, I'll describe them first as the generic what they are, and then I will go into the dice rolling system on it. IQ. Your character's relative level of intelligence. By the way, I also noted that intelligence does not equal wisdom. I've had players who are very intellectually smart, but not very... No, square peg doesn't go in round hole. But intelligence is your person's basic information and sort of reasoning skills. At least that's the way I kind of put it. People with this, higher IQ characters get a skill bonus with this attribute. That's one of the attributes. Next one is ME. Mental endurance. This one is crucial in Rifts. Especially if you're playing on Rifts Earth. If you're in the Megaverse, you're out there at Phase World. Maybe not so much. But if you're on Rifts Earth, this one's a big one. Because if you have a low score here, if you have like a 5 or a 4, yeah, you're basically going to develop a phobia every day and be frozen stiff throughout the most of the time. Because, yeah, what can I say? Yeah, it's not going to go well. Mental endurance is your ability to take mental trauma. We've all met people. I'll describe this in a personal aspect. Mental trauma, you lose your job. Person goes, crap. Walks out the door and goes and gets another one. Alright? Other person, they lose their job, they curl up in the fetal position and spend 5 days sobbing over they lost their job. I've met both kinds. I'm more of a get up off your butt and find another one. But then again, I've always been a freelancer in life, so yeah, I've always had to do that. Alright. But like I said, in Rifts Earth, this applies to monsters. And what you call your fright check. It's, monster comes out, how do you respond? And this is done in movies, and like, the monster comes out and you get that one person that's, ah! You just like, flat up, screaming incoherently, incapable of doing anything. That's what I would call a critical failure of your mental endurance check. It gets fun, especially when like the biggest guy in the group makes that roll, because you just he's not going to live that down for a couple more gaming sessions. He's not going to live that one down. However, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have the guy that the monster peers out, breathes right in his face, and he goes, I'm going to put this on my Facebook page. I'm going to put this on my Getter account. Ooh, that'll be good. Shoots in the face. That's the guy who has a high mental endurance. If you want to go for a movie reference, like I did before, Remember when Godzilla movie like, steps right in front of the camera guy and like just, you know, and he just gets up, kind of walks off and keeps shooting? I know camera guys. I work with a lot of them. I am one occasionally. Yeah, we're like that. We would keep shooting if the bomb went off. We'd get this because we want to get the shot. That, you know, I've just seen camera guys do that, so I thought that was personally very funny. In Rifts, it is the monster quote. It is the, like I said, monster screams in your face. You just move on with your life. Fighters usually have a very high mental endurance. That's how it works. It's basically your character's ability to withstand mental trauma. Like I said, some characters have a low end of this, and some characters have a high end of this, and sometimes there's a little bit in between. The average is the average. All right. Now, mental endurance. Now we're going to go to mental affinity. Mental affinity is your gift for the gab. It is your character's ability to ingratiate themselves by talking. You can have somebody who's absolutely butt ugly, but if they can talk, everybody will like them about 10 minutes after they meet them because they talk. Models are the exact opposite, but we'll get to that later. This is your, if you are a smuggler in the game, or you are the group's wheeler and dealer, the group's noble, the group's con artist. Thief, yeah, basically. This is what you need to have. You need to be charismatic. Think, the exact opposite of Wolverine. Think Gambit. Yeah, mon chéri. Yeah, always nice, always going to get along with. He's friendly guy. He gets along with everybody. That's your mental affinity. You don't think of this? Dwarves in fantasy setting. They're always fun. They may be a little bit standoffish somewhere, but if you get in, they start talking to them. Oh yeah, I like beer, and they're great. Elves, the exact opposite. They have and in the game they have like a 2d6 roll for mental affinity, so their standard is like a 7. They just they don't deal with anybody else really well. But that's mental affinity is, like I said, your ability to get along with others, your ability to talk to, figure out people like you. This is really good if you walk into a shop and you're wheeling and dealing. The brick house doesn't really need it because he just grunts and, object, give me sword. Okay, here's the price. Right, next one is physical strength. This one pretty much explains itself. It is your ability to bench press, your ability to lift, your ability to carry. Like I said, if you're the nobleman in the group, if you're the bookworm in the group, the scholar, the rogue scholar, the whatever, mage user is probably not high on your list. This is probably like your lowest skill or your lowest attribute. If you are the brick house, this is kind of what you want to be up there with. You want to be the guy that lifts up the tank and throws it at the enemy. There are several different kinds of strengths, which I will get into lower in this thing. They have these sort of categories of strength. But like I said, I'll get into that a little later. But like I said, this is, your ability to bench press, your ability to lift up, and your ability to carry stuff. And yes, Rift kind of does the gaming trope of, I can carry 100 pounds, 101, now I move half speed. I kind of let that role play a little. I'm more about the role-playing aspect of it, not the necessarily rolling and rule booking people, though I will beat somebody up with the rule book if I have to. All right, on to the next one. Physical prowess. I am not that strong, but I can put my knife right into the chinks of your armor. I think Robin Hood with a bow and arrow with this one, He's not that strong, he's got standard strength, but the bow and arrow goes whoosh, and, right in the eyeball. Okay, that works better. Or sniper, anything like that. Sword fighter would be a really good one with this one. Because you use the sword, okay. I can't hit that hard with the blade. Blade only does so much damage. Okay, fine. I can put the blade right into your eye socket or right into this. Or with a gun, you can shoot really well. Characters like this would be always a sniper in every movie, lone sniper, that kind of thing, where he has the physical prowess and the control to click, put the bullet where he wants. That being said, a person with low one of these is the guy who kind of misses a lot, or is average. Stormtroopers fall into the probably have a 5 in this skill, but they kind of win because they just basically all point in one direction, like a Napoleonic army, and pull triggers. Yeah, stormtroopers. Fort Worth did a great joke on stormtroopers and trying to get hired at the police department. But yeah, basically it's your ability to physical dexterity kind of thing. You know, manipulate objects, do that kind of thing, flip a knife, jump, tumble, that kind of thing. On to the next one, physical endurance. It's your character's ability to withstand damage and run. Essentially, your physical endurance is your ability to take a health point damage. Oh, I got cut. Okay, I can recover. Disease. Oh, God, I got sick. Oh, well, Bobby's over there curled up in the fetal position, and I'm doing fine. I've got a great PE, and he has a sucky one. That's how it works. This one also helps. It's like if you're running. Your character's physical endurance has a lot of physical endurance. You can run for 10 miles and barely break a sweat. If you had low PE in a world aspect, you would go up the stairs and you're at the top heaving over. You have a low in physical endurance. That's how these things work. They're relatable. They're kind of generalized categories. All right. Physical beauty. It almost describes itself, doesn't it? How good you look to the average species. It's kind of the human baseline. If a human would find this species, they have they might have lower dice on this skill. In general, this is how do I phrase this? You ever met like a model? Like they're really, they look good, they got makeup, whoa, they're hot, yeah. And they open their mouth and you realize, wow, I should have kept my 10 feet of distance and just looked, because this person has no clue what's going on. That happens. You will have people that look physically beautiful, and the instant they open their trap, you're like, yes, I wanted to talk about makeup today. As your nose begins to bleed. I work in the entertainment industry. I've had to do this where I stand there and go, no, we don't have VGA anymore. But anyway, you be polite. I'm always professional with that, but physical beauty is the level of physical attractiveness. Physical beauty self-describes itself. Low on this scale is, Jekyll and Hyde, or, trying not to be rude with this one and describe somebody who's going to be angry if I describe them as a low physical beauty. Medusa would probably be about a 2. Just saying. Heidi Klum, on the other hand, would probably be around a 25. My wife would be around a 30, so, hey, I'm lucky that way. On the next skill is speed. Speed! It's how fast your character can run. Physical endurance is how long he can run for, or she, or it. Speed is how fast you move in miles per hour or kilometers per hour, whichever one they use. Generally, it's just, I got a general speed of 13. I got a speed of 2. You're going to be huffing and puffing. But this is your general ability. Speed is general ability to speed. Now, I'm going to go down here a little. There, yep. There's the group concept. I guarantee each one of these people has a different stats for everything. Like the little elf, probably not as big as the brick house behind her, but then again, she's probably a lot smarter and a lot better with that blade. The guy in the middle looks like a well-rounded character. The guy in the back is probably, he looks like one of those all-encompassing attempts. And the big brick house looks like, he's probably not on the IQ scale, but he's way up on that strength scale. Here you go. This in the book. Now, I encourage you to read the books. And like I said, we'll go over these things. I will go over this, how to create a character in more depth later. IQ, if you rolled a 17. Now, let me back up here for a second. Like I said, humans are the baseline. They use 3d6 for humans. So humans basically roll 3d6 for every attribute. That's the basic skill level. That's the basic thing. And if you pick an RCC that's different, like Elf, Dwarf, Devilman, Quick Flex, Grimlock, Gornak, Martian, whatever, they have different dice levels. They have different, 2d6 for this, 3d6 for that, 5d6 for this, because the species tends to follow those lines. Can have a lot of fun with it. But, that being said, humans are the baseline. So they are there. And when I do this, I give everybody here's the system I use. And I'm going to pull up something here real good for everybody to pay attention to. Everybody in our thing has dice. I got a whole box full of them back up there. I also have dice on my phone because it's easier. I don't lose them. They don't bounce off the table. That's always annoying, especially when it hits the ground and is a 20 and you're like, doesn't freaking count. But I have a dice rolling app that I recommend. Well, I don't recommend. I'm going to say just what won't legally get me in trouble if I just say I like this. This is my personal opinion. I like this one. This is it. It is Dice and Dragons. Colorful name, boys. But here's how I do this. Now, normally, for riffs, and you're rolling up a human, you would go 1, 2, 3. Okay, that attribute is now 12. Okay. The way I do it is what I call the +1 system, i.e. whatever dice you're supposed to roll, you roll 1 additional dice and you disregard the lowest one. Like this. Boom. And I re-roll ones. I have this set up so it automatically re-rolls one so I don't have to sit there and keep tapping it. Now, this is how I do it. So if your RCC says your species, say elf, gets 2d6 for mental affinity. Not the most likable characters or species. What happens is you roll 3d6 and you pick the highest 2. Like with this one, I would get an 11 because I would disregard one of the 2s, 4, 5, and 2. It's still a low roll, but it's higher than normal. It's kind of the way I figure it. Most player character groups are slightly higher than normal, sort of collectively speaking. Now, here we go again. Nice. Like I said, I like this one because it actually rolls. It's just my pet peeve. I really don't like the apps where you hit the button on a D20 and it goes 20, 19, 2. It doesn't, this is, at least has some thematic. I just made a new word. I'm calling Webster's. I'm patenting that. Thematically. Theatrically. I worked in theater. I should know that one. Okay, I didn't work in theater. I worked with theater. Not in theater. But all right. So, it looks, I rolled. I would disregard the 2 to give me another 11. Do it again for the next skill. Okay, this one is an 18. Well, here's the thing. And now here's how riffs kind of works interestingly. If your character rolls over a 16. Let me see if I can do that real quick. 5, 2. No, that's okay. One more roll and I'll try to do this, see if it just magically happens. Of course, when I want it to do it, it doesn't do it. When I don't want it to do it, it does do it. The nature of existence. Here it is. What you do is, like, say I rolled barely a 16, right? All these, I would literally, in my case, I would roll an additional dice and add that number to the total. This gets you the 18 skill, and usually your character should have one of these, maybe 2. If some guy rolls up 4, you gotta watch him dice roll because he's lying through his teeth. Sorry, that doesn't, there's a good possibility, but there's not a definite, there's not a 50-50 chance. There's roughly, I think, a 20% chance. 18, 10% chance. There should be a 10% chance on 2 dice. Okay, I'll do the quantum physics later, and I'll write out the equation in the credits. All right, so that's how I do it. It gives the player characters a little bit of a level up. They're a little bit beyond sort of standard characters or standard humans at that point. They have, they're just slightly above. And then they get all those. All right, then you go in there and you can go all the way up to 30. And I don't really think I've ever seen somebody roll 30. But if somebody rolled out of their 3 dice, they got 3 6s. And then they rolled an additional 6. Okay, I might, for the fun of it, let them roll an additional dice to have a mega skill. I would, however, sort of curb that by not letting them put it in the PS. Maybe physical prowess, maybe IQ, like they're an uber geek. But, you know, as a GM, you always try to balance the scores out. And that is how it works. All right. So, the last point I'm going to get to, I've gone over all the attributes, is strength. Okay. Real quick, this is all the under skills if you're lower than 10. 10 is supposedly human average. Yeah, there's a lot of penalties, and you're just an idiot. Attributes beyond 30. Yes, if your attributes beyond 30, you've got issues. But, here we go. This is the final point I want to cover today, or in this episode, is Bionics. Augmented strength is augmented strength. It is Bionics, Juicers, Crazies. Somebody who has something else in their system or some unique classification that makes you stronger in a stronger curve. I think it's the way the curve works on the damage. It's a little differently. So standard is, you got standard stuff, you can go back to that. Augmented is juicers and crazy guys who are pumped full of steroids or have some sort of, their muscles are harder or stronger. Light power armor, bionics. Robot strength, this is all the robots, all the things that lift things. The mech suits, all that power armor stuff, you know, heavy power armor, big power armor. And there's also supernatural. If you notice, I think there's a kind of different curve on each one of these as to the damage levels. Supernatural is the big one. If you are supernaturally strength, you know, it's like Kevin Sorbo in Hercules. He looked really weak, but he could lift the thing. He could lift, you know, boulders over his head and mountains over his head. That's kind of how the supernatural strength works. It's kind of hidden. It's like, like in riffs, don't ever underestimate the skinny little guy that everybody's scared of, because there's probably a reason for it. All this comes into effect when you go to weight and movement. Standard, you have standard characters with standard PS. They do this, you know, it's times 10, PS, all that kind of stuff. It varies when it comes to robotics and supernatural strength and lifting weight. Lifting weight, everybody, if you've ever lifted weight, you know you can go straight up with probably about double what you can carry. Possibly more. I lift a lot in my industry to move boxes around and build shit. But yeah, so that's it. Building, lifting, that's gonna cover this section. I'm gonna end this episode here, just to say, you know, hey, here's the thing. This has been your friendly neighborhood Techno Wizard. Have a nice day in the Megaverse, and I do know Chad the man.